Hi friends, thanks for stopping by today. This is Thunder Steve 85, and we're doing a comparison today of the OG Game Boy. Had to dig up 4 AA batteries, get this guy up and running. And we're going to be comparing it today to the, of course, brand new Analogue Pocket. Now, of course, we know that the Analogue Pocket is obviously far better than the Game Boy, but it's cool to, I think, take a look back and see what, a lot of us grew up on. I mean, we strained our eyes to be able to play video games on the go, in the car, The idea to play video games portably back in the day was just a dream. And it's cool to look and see how far it's come now. So I'm going to give a quick demo of Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. I'm sure a game many of us have played. And I just want you to see the difference here. I mean, obviously it's going to be a big difference, but this is pretty awesome. So let me go ahead and get that started. And there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, now, if you thought that looks good, we're going to go ahead and show the Game Boy Color next, okay? So we'll go ahead and look at, probably, we'll go with Zelda Oracle of Ages. They have a nice little cutscene intro that'll really show off the colors and, of course, what the Game Boy Color was capable of. And this will give you a really nice idea of just how great this Analogue Pocket screen is. Okay, now we have Zelda Oracle of Ages to demonstrate on the good old Atomic Purple Game Boy Color. As you can see, I mean, it's hard to even see the Game Boy Color. And that's exactly how it looks for me. I mean, the colors on this pocket are just beautiful. And that screen is just crystal clear. There's a little bit better view of the Game Boy Color. You can see it a little bit better there. And then just looking at that side by side. I mean, the pocket is sexy. I'm not gonna lie. This is a really, really beautiful game system. I didn't know if I'd play it that much, but I wanted to get it. I enjoy Analogue's products. They're super high quality. Now that I have it and I've actually seen this screen in person, I mean, it it makes the system. It's beautiful. Now tell me, when's the last time you played Metroid Fusion? And did it ever look like this? I gotta say, just watching it from here, seeing it in person, again, these colors just pop. Everything looks super vibrant on this screen. And we all know this is a good looking game. But seeing it the way, I think we all would have wished to see it back in the day, this is what we're getting now. I mean, this looks beautiful. It doesn't look like the game, obviously, that we played back in the day on our original GBA or even our GBA SP. This is just a beaut, Some footage of Legend of Zelda Minish Cap for the Game Boy Advance. If you haven't played this game, it's an excellent one. I remember buying this back in the day at Best Buy. I think I was a junior or senior in high school. But I remember having this game pre-ordered and was super excited to play this, this Zelda game that was made in conjunction with Capcom. Nintendo and Capcom worked together on this. After they did such a great job on the Oracle of Ages and Seasons, they were able to make the Minish Cap. And of course, we haven't had a Nintendo Capcom hookup since for any of the Zelda games, but they're still great in my eyes. And maybe they'll get another chance again one day to work together. It's been a long time since I played this. The last time I played and beat this was, back when it came out. So I feel like we're coming up on 20 years pretty soon here. So if you haven't had a chance to play this, now's the perfect time. If you're picking up an Analogue Pocket or thinking about it, this is the best way to play it right here. Now, with it being the holiday season, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, hey, I wonder how Home Alone looks on the Analogue Pocket. Well, I can show you. Listen to that intro music. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with Home Alone for Super Nintendo. I played it a ton for regular Nintendo. And so I don't know if the Super Nintendo version's any different, but we'll see. Great to be out of the slammer, Harry. You said it, Marv. Did you round up the gang? Are we ready? I fixed everything. What about the brat? Is he home alone? Not for long. I've been waiting a long time for this. All that stuff, jewels, VCRs, TVs, and toys. I want that kid's toys. Okay, but first, we grab their gold jewelry and silver. Enough gabbing, let's do it. Oh my God, look at this. I'm not gonna lie, this looks really sick. I want to get down on this later. Oh shoot. I could see. Okay. Yeah. Now this isn't really like the NES one. These guys, they look like they're in the Mafia. They were not in the NES version, so I'll give this one a try, but I still prefer the NES Home Alone. Even though it's a deeply flawed game, I still really like it. Now, maybe you're dying to revisit an all-time classic like Super Mario RPG. Or, hey, maybe you're playing it for the first time, which would be awesome. What I'd give to experience this game for the first time. For those of you watching, I mean, if you've never played this, this is where it all started as far as Mario and RPGs go. This is the game that, you know, spawned Paper Mario and this, you know, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. That wouldn't have been a thing without this game first. And the graphics on this game are just amazing. You know, for Super Nintendo, I remember going to Blockbuster, and it came out, if I recall, a few months, maybe 4, 5, 6 months before the Nintendo 64 launched in September 96 here in the US. And, you know, there wasn't a ton of new games coming out for Super Nintendo. You know, it's getting towards the end of the life cycle, of course. And, you know, there was no internet. Or, you know, let me say it again. There was internet, but, you know, most people didn't have it. And there was really, you didn't know always what games were coming out. Like, that was part of the fun of going to Blockbuster, you know, or going to your local video game store to see what new games they have. Because unless, you know, you purchased a video game magazine subscription to, you know, Nintendo Power or like EGM back in the day, if you didn't have that, you didn't know what was coming out. And even back then, there weren't like hard release dates that were like heavily advertised on games. I think, you know, probably some of the big hitters back in the day had hard release dates, but, you know, it was kind of like, hey, when the retailer got it, like they put it on the shelf. We didn't really know. They didn't really like publicize that a ton back in the day. So it was like it was a surprise when there was new games. And that was, again, part of the fun of going to Blockbuster, was to see, hey, I wonder if they have any new games. And I remember seeing this on the shelf. And I remember seeing like the box art. And if you remember, like, it has a great box art. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's cool. Very polygonal, I guess you could say. But it was cool. Like, it really showed off like the tech back in the day. And just seeing this on the shelf, I was like, oh my God, like a new Mario game, you know, Mario RPG. And I'll tell you what, at the time, if I recall, I was 10 or 11 years old, and I had never played an RPG. And, you know, there weren't a ton back then, but this is the game that introduced me to the RPG genre. And, you know, if you ask me today, RPGs are my favorite games. I play all video games, but I love RPGs. I love the story, the character building, you know, going to towns, picking up items, getting new weapons and armor. I mean, I love everything about RPGs, and this is what introduced me to that whole genre. And I'm always thankful for Super Mario RPG. And I gotta imagine I'm not the only one. So if you ever have a chance, if you haven't played this, you have to play it. And if you have, I mean, shoot, I might revisit this. I have a major backlog, as I'm sure many of us do, but man, I love this game. No video game collection is complete without the blue blur himself, Sonic the Hedgehog. That looks beautiful. That blue, crisp, clean. I mean, how many of you played this split screen back in the day? I know we did a few times, but it was hard. It was chaotic, I guess you could say. Yeah, that looks great. Very fluid. Now, who didn't love some Double Dragon back in the day? I mean, I know part three on the NES was not great, but part one and two, I mean, growing up playing Double Dragon with my brothers, my cousin, this was so much fun. And the music was great. Like, listen to this intro. Wait for it. Yeah. This hit back in the day. Still does. Now, of course, there's many ways to play Double Dragon now. Yeah, I know you can get it in a collection on PlayStation Store, most likely Xbox, and I know you can get it on the Nintendo shop. But yeah, you know, being able to play it portably, it looks great. And now tell me you wouldn't love some Mega Man 2 on the go. I mean, another one of those games where that soundtrack is just so good. Like if you grew up gaming, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, Mega Man 2 for many was their favorite Mega Man. I'm not discounting Mega Man 3. And I'm not picking sides. Both games amazing. But that soundtrack here. Once you get to the top of that building, with that hair blowing in the wind. Dude, tell me. Does that not hit? I mean, seriously, this was such a great soundtrack. And so many of the levels. I can't recall. I mean, even this music right here was great. I think it was what? I thought the Airman stage and Bubble Man had a good soundtrack. Let's see. Maybe it was Airman. I love how, like, on regular Nintendo, the start button was just king. Like, if you saw me, I tried to press basically what would be the A button, and it does nothing because back in the day, like, you had to press the start button. And we all know that nowadays, you know, if you're playing PlayStation or something, you press the X button, and that's as good as the start button. But no, not with Nintendo, man. Like growing up, you had to press that start button to actually start the game. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you one of my favorite games growing up. Still one of my favorites to this day. And of course, I mean, that music's so good still. I mean, it's a great song, right? But hearing it on the Nintendo was just so cool back in the day. And then, of course, you know, this is the song right here on my intro video, The Moon. Like I gotta imagine Capcom really pushed the boundaries for that Nintendo sound chip. And this has never looked or sounded better, you know, portably speaking. This is just another game I'm going to want to dig into again. I beat this game probably 100 times, but it just never gets old, It's nostalgic, of course. It brings back memories, but it's also a damn good game. All right, now here's one that is still one of my favorite games to this day. And I bet a lot of the younger folk don't know about this one. This game's Maniac Mansion. It's a point and click adventure. And man, was this game good. And he had Lucasfilm Games, George Lucas's video game studio. And this was cool. Look at this. Now, this game first came out on PC and then was ported over to the Nintendo. And one cool little story about this is the first cartridges to hit store shelves back in the day was considered, and still is to this day, the uncensored version. And the reason why it's considered that is because you could go to, Cousin Ed's room in the game and grab his hamster, and you could put it in the microwave. And the hamster would actually explode. And that was obviously something that you could do in the PC version. And I think Nintendo was under the impression that wouldn't be in the Nintendo version because, it's Nintendo. And Nintendo has always been, they did a lot of censoring back in the day. They wanted to keep that family image. And they did. They did a great job doing it, right? That's why, Nintendo never got Grand Theft Auto. That's one of the reasons why, right? That's just not a Nintendo thing. And I'm sure there's other reasons why they didn't get GTA back in the day. But man, I'm telling you, this game was rad. You pick 3 kids. Here's old Bernard. Press start. And here we go. This theme's classic for me. This is another one too. The sequel you can purchase on PlayStation. I think Xbox. Don't quote me on that. And I know you can't on Switch. But you can definitely get it on the PlayStation Store. It's called Day of the Tentacle. The full title is Maniac Mansion, Day of the Tentacle. But in the shop, in the PlayStation Store, it shows up as Day of the Tentacle. And I'm going to give a little spoiler warning, but in Day of the Tentacle, there's a room where you can actually access a computer in the game, and you can load up the original Maniac Mansion and play through the whole thing. You can even save the game. It's got save states. So it's 2 games in one. Again, this was a Lucasfilm game back in the day. And another fun fact, there was even a TV show, a Maniac Mansion TV show that was on the Family Channel back in the day. And, if memory serves correct, the Family Channel is now Freeform. And of course, Freeforms went through a ton of different names. But back in the day, back in the mid to late 80s, it was called the Family Channel. And this show was on it. And if I recall, it was a really weird show, much like the game. But it's worth checking out if you haven't before. And the sequel, Day of the Tentacle, even better. So if you can get that on the PlayStation Store, I highly, highly recommend it. Now, I really feel like this whole Analogue Pocket game demonstrations wouldn't be complete without showing the Super Nintendo Pac-Man title. that we all know and love, Super Mario World. See how this looks. And yeah, I mean, obviously, it looks damn good. Those colors pop. I mean, I got nothing bad to say about it. There's no cons here. It's nothing but pros. This looks amazing. Brings back memories for sure, let me tell you. Just another one of those all-time great video games, you know? This is on many people's probably all-time list. At least for retro games. This was one of the kings for sure. And this is just another, you know, timeless adventure. It's one of those games I think many of us revisit every so often. And again, man, if you haven't played this, what are you waiting for? I mean, it's been out for 30 years. 30 years. Oh my God. I cannot believe that. I am aging myself. I just saw that intro screen though, with the years 1991 and 1992. I believe it was 91 in Japan, 92 here in the US, but man, that is wild to think it's been 30 years since it came out here. And I remember renting this game, of course, a handful of times. And you had to hope that when you rented it again, that no one deleted your save file, because there's only 3 slots. And you know, I think people were jerks probably sometimes, and they'd rent the game and they just delete all 3 slots, even though they only needed 1. They delete all of them. And then when you go to rent the game again, you're hoping that, you know, your save file's still there, and it's not. And you see that there's one new person's name and the other 2 are blank. It's like, well, why didn't you just leave my name? And that was the most frustrating thing back then, to have to like start over from scratch. But thankfully, I remember, I think it was my birthday one year, and I got Zelda for Super Nintendo, and I knew what I wanted. And I was so happy, like so thankful that I was able to get a video game for Christmas, or not Christmas, but for my birthday. You know what I mean? I was just so excited, and to finally have Zelda and have my own save file. And I remember playing this, and I would say I didn't look anything up, but there was no internet, obviously, back then. But I didn't look at any clues, no magazines, nothing. Like this game, I just, you know, beat it as a kid. I was 7 or 8 years old. 7 years old when it came out. I think I got it for my 8th birthday. So I got it in 1993. And I played this game so much. There was times where I'd be playing for hours and I'd be stuck on a part. Specifically on, if I recall, on Death Mountain, when you're turned into a bunny or a rabbit, whatever you want to call it, you know, a little pink bunny rabbit. And you had to like use the magic mirror. And I remember being stuck as that little pink bunny rabbit for like months. I'm not kidding. If I recall, I had to like step away from the game. And you know, sometimes, especially when you're playing Zelda, you just step away from the game for a little bit. And when you're stuck on a puzzle, you're stuck on a dungeon, and then you return back to it the next day, and then you can beat it. You know, it's like you just had some sort of mental block. And I had to use that quite a bit back in the day, especially playing these games because, you know, there were no guides. I remember I still am, but I was extremely against strategy guides. I thought it really took away from the experience. And like I said, I still do to this day. Like, if you can just beat a game yourself without any help and without looking anything up, like that's an accomplishment. Especially when you're a kid. Like I was 7, 8 years old playing this game, and I was proud. I was proud of myself when I beat this game, and I look back on it, still one of my favorite Zeldas of all time. It's right there with Ocarina of Time. Um, Obviously, if you haven't played this, I mean, like I said, you gotta play it. If you've never had a chance to play Mother, aka like Earthbound Zero, this is the game that came before Earthbound on Super Nintendo. Obviously not as well known. It only came out in Japan. It was recently released to the US via the Nintendo eShop. I think when I say recently, I mean in the last 5 years, I believe. And it was exciting. And when this got released, a lot of us were hoping that meant Nintendo was going to finally, complete the translation for Earthbound 2 that came out on the Game Boy Advance. And they still have not done it to this day. But if you want to play it, there's a way to play it. And I'll show you that game next because I have the cartridge with the fan translation on it. And I'm super excited to finally play that game. The game I've wanted to play for a long time. That's Mother 3, Earthbound 2, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I do remember following this fan translation closely back in the day. And I was really rooting for him. I'm like, dude, I really hope this happens. Because if Nintendo's not going to do it and the fans are willing to, and if Nintendo, of course, doesn't shut it down, there's obviously a lot of factors then, but it was exciting to finally see this come out. And this is just one of those games that I am personally super excited to play, and there's not many ways to play it. In the handheld format. So yeah, this is one I'm gonna definitely spend some time on. This might be one that I live stream because I have not played it. I played the other two. I played Mother or Earthbound Zero. Beat it, of course. Beat Earthbound on Super Nintendo, but this one I have not actually played. So this is one that I'm super excited to play, and I gotta imagine there's still a lot of people out there who haven't played this game and they don't know about it. So that's going to be one that I will probably live stream. And there you have it. So you're probably wondering, what do I think about the Analogue Pocket? Is it worth purchasing? My answer to that would be, if you have the money for it, yes. If you don't buy it. If you can pay cash for it, meaning you can use your debit card, go ahead and purchase it. Don't max out a credit card for it. Buy it when you can, if you can. Obviously, the aftermarket prices are probably going to be pretty high, unfortunately. That's just how it works these days. We've all seen it with, most recently, PS5. They're finally on store shelves, but we've all seen it. eBay, aftermarket sellers, scalpers, they're going to charge an arm and a leg for it. And honestly, I don't want to see anyone get taken advantage of in that way. if you can get a good deal on it and you have the money for it, then yeah, I'd pick it up. If you want to be able to play old games, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Sega, Super Nintendo, the regular Nintendo, PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16. You can run Neo Geo games on this. There's a lot of games you can run on this. All you need to do is get on the Google and take a look. Just do a little Googling and you'll find out how to get all these different games on here. And it's very easy. It did not take me long to do it at all. Maybe 15, 20 minutes. So very easy to get all these games up and running. And if you want to play them, this is a great way to play it. They look beautiful. The screen is awesome. It sounds great. The form factor is very nice. This feels good in my hands. I played it for maybe an hour yesterday, and my hands didn't cramp up. They can sometimes when you're like holding these small video game systems. They can cramp up a little bit at this age. And I'm not trying to say I'm old, but like I'm closer to 40 than I am to 30. And things like that just take a toll on you. You spend 20, 25 years pounding away at the keyboard and your hands start to hurt at a young age. So between that and all the video games over the years, it's a lot of hand usage. So yeah, my hands didn't cramp up. That's a plus. And I know a lot of people always wonder about that. What else can I tell you about it? It's light. So it's not heavy. You can sit there and play it for a long time. The battery life seems to be great. Obviously you can do the basic stuff like adjust the brightness. There's different color palettes for Game Boy. I kept it on the traditional analog OS display. The other ones are fine if you want to mess around, but if you're trying to get down to business and actually game, I think the analog OS is probably the best one. I did get a few accessories for it that I talked about in my first video. So if you hadn't seen those accessories yet, go ahead and check out my unboxing video where I show some of those off. They're really cool. I'm glad I got the accessories. I will be showing, I'll be making another video shortly where I actually show the dock here. I have not used it yet. I'm going to get to using this soon. Check it out, see how it looks on the Sony 4K TV. Should be pretty cool. I'm excited. And I'm going to definitely test out a few controllers. I have a handful of 8-bit controllers. So I'll probably use my Super Nintendo or my Super Famicom 8-bit controller. That'd probably work best with these games. And I'm excited to see how it looks. It is cool. You do have 2 USB ports here, which allows this to obviously play 2 players. So if you have a friend come over, cousin, brother, someone in the family, they're coming over around the holidays, they want to check it out, you're able to play 2 players. So that's pretty cool. All in all, though, am I happy that I pre-ordered this a year ago? Absolutely. Do I plan on keeping it? No doubt about it. This is something that I seriously would take with me on trips on the plane. It's real easy just to load up all of these games. You don't have to bring any of the cartridges with you. You just bring this, and you don't have to bring batteries or anything. Just bring this in your charger and you're good to go. So very cool. Fits in your pocket. I don't know if you want to put it in your pocket. I wouldn't want to scratch up this beautiful screen, but again, I got a protective case for it. That won't fit in my pocket, but hey, it'll fit in my backpack wherever I end up putting this thing when I travel. But I can definitely see this being a very cool travel companion. And again, I'm excited to see how it's going to look on the big screen because I will end up doing a live stream of Mother 3. And I'm going to want to do it on my TV because I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty long game. Again, I'm not going to look up any guides. I'm just going to play through blind and see how it goes. So I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you guys will tune in to watch me play Mother 3 for the first time. Now, if you like what you saw today and you'd like to see more, there's anything else you wanted me to talk about or showcase on the Analogue Pocket, just leave a comment in the box below and I'll read through the comments. And if there's a need and a want for more videos showing the Analogue Pocket, I'd be more than happy to do it. And if you like what you saw today, please like, share, subscribe. We've got to work that algorithm so I can get the video out to as many people as possible. And, all I got to say is I hope you can get your hands on this. If you want one, I hope you can get it. Best of luck to you. And I hope you can get it for a good deal, because I hate to see gamers getting taken advantage of with that aftermarket. So hopefully if you want one, you can get a good deal. Check OfferUp. I'll tell you, I knew mine was coming in, but I saw someone selling their Pocket on OfferUp with a handful of accessories. I believe the dock was included, and they were selling it for like $350, which I thought was pretty solid. I felt like that was a way better deal than you were going to see on eBay. So don't just check eBay, check OfferUp, check Facebook Marketplace. There's other avenues you can go through. So hopefully you can get a good deal if you want one. And again, thanks for tuning in today. Hope you all have a great day.